everybody, and welcome back to Bourbon Over Baseball with your hosts, Bob, co-host Jeff, and Matt. Say hello, everybody.
Hello.
Whoa.
So, we are back again after a little bit of a hiatus. We've been doing some of the interviews and our stuff you guys have been able to hear and listen to. We're back into our breakdowns of our teams, and we have a exciting one for everybody. Let's see if you guys can get this team. Are you guys ready? Here we go. Wait, I lied. Here you go. No? Still nothing?
Oh, I get it. Is that a trash can?
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Again,
No.
now, and obviously in 2000, hypothetically, they weren't cheating, but check out this. I typed in, because I looked for the theme song for the Astros, and check out, this is what came up. See if you know this song, Jeff.
Bang it on the trash can, bang it on the street light.
Is that from Doug?
Yes!
I can't hear it. Oh my God, Matt, good catch. I couldn't hear it.
It's called Banging on the Trash Can, and it's from Doug.
Oh my God. Dude.
So that came up when I was searching. I was like, that is fantastic.
My biggest thing, like, you know, to Bob, to your point, like, that has nothing to do with the team we're going to cover. And the team we're going to cover actually rocks, and like they're a lot of fun. So it sucks that it's been like kind of tainted. But
I mean, I'm a huge Astros fan. I got my Astros Jeff Bagwell jersey on. I got my Astros. I've always been an Astros fan. Bagwell's, it sucked this last year.
Right. The biggest thing I feel like between COVID, between the MLB BS, between everything that's going on in the country, I think everybody collectively lost sight of how much the Astros were going to get piled on.
Yeah.
It bums me out that that's not gonna. Everyone's just gonna be excited for baseball to be back,
and there's not gonna be any fans there.
Right? Exactly. Yeah. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, there was someone that was like, someone on Twitter the one day was like, this was the day the Yankees were gonna play the Astros, and it was like a disappointing thing for them. But now the Yankees might be accused of cheating too, so I don't know what the heck's going on.
Right. And they were supposed to unveil or like unseal those court documents, and I don't remember seeing anything happen from that.
I have not either. I mean, they're still trying to even get a season together. So
I think they did an appeal, so it's like pushed back.
Oh, okay.
Of course it is. Yep.
Yeah.
So we'll get to the real Astros now, and now here's the real theme song.
Go, go, Astros!
It sounds like a classic.
Here come the Astros.
That song is fantastic.
That's like soft rock Astros. Yeah. Again, there's a lot of things to like here. It's just the current Astros are just the worst.
Yeah, so obviously this was I'm a huge Jeff Bagwell fan growing up. So obviously I like the Astros growing up. And so I was a big fan of them. It was along with the Indians and the Rockies. But obviously I'm kind of less a fan now that I've seen the way they are. So again, it's a little tainted, but maybe they'll fix their shit together and they'll be more fun in the future.
Hopefully, right.
So first up then, we have Jeff Bagwell.
our boy.
Yeah.
This card, man. It's a legendary card.
So I draft this a lot. Peter rips on me a lot for drafting because it's like an A-speed first base, and there's only a few of them. But I think he's a stud. He's you get the A-speed 10, which I think is great. Not many outs, and he's still got a little pop. Not as good as the 01 version, which has more homers, but he has less speed, so you just got to kind of weigh that. I've had good success with the 00 version of Jeff Bagwell, so that's just me.
Right. The worst thing here is the walks range is just massive, and he singles at 13.
Well, that's why he was like second place in on base percent that year.
Yep.
Right. That makes sense. And that's why he has a 10 too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was really fast, really solid player. I mean, you're right. That is the biggest downfall of this card, but and looking into it now, like more that I'm like really diving into cards a little bit more than just I love Jeff Bagwell and therefore I'm drafting this card. It is a little crappy with the walk, but the best thing about this then is that you have a guy on first with A speed. So
right, this. You could lead off with him, right? Like absolutely. That's like, and you probably should. Like, I can't imagine you would have someone higher than 570. Again, you want him to get as many plate appearances as humanly possible. But I'm kind of with you that, like, I think of a draft scenario, like, I'm not sure he's like one of my first 4 picks. And like, he honestly, in my mind, unless someone else doesn't draft him, I could see him falling. Yeah. And then like the moment we get in a kind of a gauge of how much salary.
First round.
Yeah. Like I remember in our 2019, or it was one of them. I picked Santana, Carlos Santana, like super late. because I had the points, and I think he was actually like 570. So like that's where again, if you could get him late, you had the points. Like my God, that would be baller. But like it's hard. I guess I have trouble justifying him as like a first couple picks.
I think I had like Ichiro lead off, and then I had Jeff Bagwell batting 2.
Oh man!
So it was a really cool, fun team. But yeah, it was. Looking at it now, I don't know if I should spend it, but I've always had good luck with him. I like Jeff Bagwell. I've always liked it, but you're single plussing at 16. That's where it starts to get rough for spending 570, and that's.
I love that logo in the back.
Oh yeah, the other Houston logo.
I think I actually like because like again, I mean that's like a blue. I know it's like again they went from a blue and then we'll see the red a little later, but
yeah,
no that logo, it's really good. It's just like
I don't think I've ever noticed it like this because like there's a clear picture. It's a great picture, so like it just doesn't. I've never noticed it that much stand out to me when I just have the cards out.
Yeah, it's a lot of them usually the same symbol or a secondary symbol. I'm guessing that's what the secondary one is here.
I'm part of me is thinking maybe I'm wrong here. We'll have to see, but that could be spring training, but it could not be. I don't know. Like we're gonna have to compare.
It doesn't look like it looks a little interesting of a jersey.
Yeah, I don't think they'd wear that in the regular season.
Yeah, it looks spring training to me.
But it shows up a lot from what I'm seeing, so we're gonna find out.
So next up we have Derek Bell, another A speed guy. So again, this one's pretty rough for 140. Again, no outs though. But you're probably not picking this card up.
No, I love the picture. He looks badass.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's there's actually a lot of things. Like there's a lot of things I actually like. 6 is bad, but other than that, like Speed A is great. He has a fun chart. It's just the moment we're talking about an on base 6. It's like. Yeah. Unfortunate, it just kind of falls off the radar for any of us.
We're talking about cops. This guy's a cop.
He's the narc on the team.
Yeah.
He was the one who he's the oh my gosh, he's the fears or whatever on this team.
Yeah, he's just got a sick mustache. Those are like cop glasses. Like
oh, he looks great. Oh yeah, heck yeah.
So next up we have Craig Biggio, a pretty solid card. We drafted this card in our draft podcast. Fun. It's just a fun. This is their actual jersey, I think, for the season.
Yeah.
I've always liked Craig Biggio. They should have had like a hits batter. I think hit by pitch in his chart.
I almost feel like we should be like if he does show up and I need to remember it. If he ever does show up in like any blind draft, any actual draft, I just feel like he ceremoniously needs to be hit by the pitch.
Oh yeah, I think for
right,
sure.
And just take your base.
Yeah, you're a little close to that. You're crowding the plate there, buddy.
Right.
But yeah, he it's a pretty solid card. The drawbacks here again, 5 outs. He's not a top fielding, but you're talking about an A speed 9, pretty solid overall. He doesn't usually get picked up too often. I think he's a little expensive. But obviously, in the draft we didn't have much to pick from, and you're not gonna be mad that he's on your team.
No, I mean single plus at 16 is actually pretty solid. Yeah. I mean,
and what was this the year he had like 50 something doubles, right?
I do not know that. Someone else would have to look that one up.
I'm pretty sure it is. I'll let you know in a second.
Yeah. What's nice here? So we were just looking at Jeff Bagwell, who's a 10. So for 220 more points, you're basically just getting an on base. And, because he's single plussing at 16 as well.
Yeah, he had 56 doubles.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so he's got the 3 doubles here, which is a huge number to go by.
Yeah. And he had a lot of plate appearances, so I'm curious what his double
How many hits?
was.
How many hits by pitches?
Do they show that?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
99, he only had 11.
Oh.
In 97, he had 34.
Oh my
30.
God.
34, dude.
Yeah, he really crowded it up and just took it all the time.
285 in his career.
Yeah.
I want to know what is the average? I guess all players
he holds the record, right?
He's got it.
Or did. He did at one point. I thought he still did. I can't imagine anybody passing him now.
One thing I'll mention too, we should have probably started with this. This Astros team was super good. I think we all know that. Their final record was 97 and 65, which is really good. They were first in NL Central. they lost to the Braves, who made it to the World Series that year, in '99. But their Showdown team, the base set, they're well above average. They're fourth highest at 5,020. The highest is the Braves at 5,320. So still a little difference there, but I mean, that just the gap actually, it goes Braves, Indians, Yankees, Astros, and the difference between the Yankees and the Astros is almost 200. So that shows how close the Braves, Indians, and Yankees base sets were in 2000.
And Jeff, to go back with you wondering what the average was, in the past 2019 season, the league average per team was 66.
So
and he got hit 34 times himself.
And that's one freaking player.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love it.
I'll have to look at. Let me find 99 since that's kind of what we're talking.
Dude,
about.
even in that year,
was this the 3 Bs? They always talk about the triple Bs for Houston. I think it was Bell, Biggio, and Bagwell.
I think it was when Berkman was there.
Yeah,
was it when Berkman was there? Because I thought Berkman was later.
He was in the next year's set, I think. Like the next year's pennant run.
Yeah,
Berkman did not get a 2. He's on the team in '99, but I don't think he got a card. He
got a pennant run, I think, in 01.
Okay.
Yeah. So and in 01 for his 02 card, he had 55 doubles. So yeah, that must have been when he was the guy, because Derek Bell was never really that amazing of a player, but he only played until 99. So this was his last year on the team, and then he gets traded to the Mets, or maybe signs as a free agent, I guess.
So the average in 99 was 53 per team for hit bats. And
also that year in 99, Jeff Bagwell, Biggio, and Carl Everett all had 11 hit by pitches. Funny enough. They all had the same.
Yeah, so that must have been the triple Bs were those 3 guys you said, Berkman, Biggio, and Bagwell, because they all played in the early 2000s. So that must have been all them. So that was the triple Bs. I always liked that name, the triple Bs. It was like a cool nickname for like.
You mean it wasn't Tim Bogar?
No. You mean this next guy, the great Tim Bogar? Not that great of a player, but I guess if you were just trying to lock up the defense for some odd reason, you'd get it. He's got 2 doubles. It's just not a really good card. 160 is a nice value, I guess, but
you're paying for the defense.
That's all you're paying for. It just seems like you're not really getting a lot out of it. Though I wouldn't mind getting that double range. I just don't really want a 7.
Yeah.
So
no, I think he's a filler spot, but that's the best.
You know, he would in the NL only league.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
He would actually be great in a blind draft, honestly.
Yeah. Next up, we have Ken Caminiti. Mr. Roy. No.
Look at him.
So I've actually played this card before. It's whatever. This is definitely spring training for this. But third base +1, 9 on base for 330. So we're talking about like same sort of range that Biggio is in, but he's got a little bit more pop, but not the speed. A lot of outs here. It just seems pricey. I don't know. Like he seems like he falls in that middle where if I'm punting or grabbing a value player, or I'm grabbing like the best third baseman available.
Right. He's just that middle ground that you just don't find a home for. Right. I mean, it's funny. Like I'm not for 330. It's not horrible. He's funny enough, got a very similar chart in a lot of ways to Bagwell. Like you said, I don't love the defense, but for 330, like, I don't know if I'm picking him. It's going to be, again, NL only draft. It's going to be really interesting to see if a lot of these guys get picked up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't hate it, but yeah, I don't know if I'm keeping my eye on into draft.
Were they NL in this year, or how are you doing that?
In that year, they're still NL, so it was kind of on us to decide, do we just go with 15 teams?
Yeah.
Or do we go 16?
So next up, Scott Arlton.
Has like a lot of studs.
Yeah, so this is a solid card. Got the 1 through 16 out. This is the kind of pitcher I like to look for. The ground ball range is kind of low, but this is your typical 17 walk, 18, 19 single, double, 20. I don't know. It's good. It's not bad. I would probably pick it up if I had to, but I like this kind of card, 1 through 16 out.
Yeah, it's funny. He gets he gets a pretty decent card this year, but then he ended up getting the foil in the 2001 set.
Yeah, is he a 1?
He's a 1.
Yeah. Oh
it's like a 200-point card. I'm a little, I guess looking back, I'm going to look at the foils right now because I'm curious, but that throws me off. Like this card is actually, I'm not saying it's foil-esque, like, but I can tell you that 201 control is not a foil. Like I know that. Like, I mean, this card, this team does already have 4 foils.
Right.
So, and I don't know. I'm trying to think of who they had. They lost a couple players going into 2001, so maybe that was a big market for them, and they had to give it to somebody. But like, there were players on that team in 2001 that like definitely could have had
like Hidalgo, a 500.
Yeah, especially Hidalgo.
I don't get it. Like I'm a.
This is why I in my 96 set like said I'm gonna make it a points range thing. I'm gonna say that this, at 480. Every starter above 40 is getting a foil. It's just you earned it if you got that. It's like a Moneyball thing. You've earned it with that salary.
even in 2001, they only had 2 foils in 2001. It was Bagwell and Alarton. I think I'm saying that right.
I think it's Ellerton.
Is it Ellerton? Okay.
You're asking the wrong person, but I think
right. Maybe I can check. Right. But Berkman, Hidalgo, like even Lima wasn't that bad that year. Like that's always, I think, been one of the biggest questionable foil calls.
Yeah, I think if I'm reading into it, he won 17 games in 2000, so I could see them being like, oh, he had a lot of wins, let's give him a foil. But
didn't he do it versus? Did he make the All-Star game?
He did not.
Oh, see, then I just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, because like, he won 17 games because he was on a good team.
Yeah,
like this is 2000 that I'm talking about. He had a 4.81 ERA and a 1.46 WHIP. Like he was shitty. He deserved his shitty card, but he won 17 games. So I think that it had something to do with it.
That's 100% it. That's really interesting because like that like proves
I've ever played with this card. Either this Scott Arlton. I have played with that random shitty one because I thought it'd be cool to make like an all foils team, and you need to save salary sometimes.
Right, no.
And in '99, he only started 15 games, but he got a starter 6 IP card, and he pitched out of relief, like out of the bullpen 27 times.
Wow,
that's pretty strange, actually.
Yeah.
Huh.
That's like, it's just like, I mean, to your point about like him getting the foil for, and again, we'll cover that team more, but like him getting the foil for being at 17, like what you said, 17 wins.
Yeah.
That's wild.
So let's say, is anybody listening that's a big Houston fan or know why they would do that? Let us know. I mean, maybe you were in the Houston area like, we loved Scott Arlton.
Yeah, he must. That feeds into the marketing that like, we're going to ignore the stats. We're going to look into the Houston market and say, who is a star, right? Bagwell was no question. And then they said, Alarton has got to be that.
And like, it's crazy. So I just pulled up their whole team page for 01 or 00. And like, he was their only starter above 8 wins. Like their pitching staff was god awful.
So he was their pitching star, and he got a foil. That's I love figuring out shit like that. Because
it's like, okay, so Chris Holt, who has a card as well, was 8-16. Jose Lima was 7-16. Shane Reynolds was 7-8, and then Ellerton was 17-7. Like,
dude, Shane Reynolds
was their stud pitcher. He just had a terrible record stats with it.
And I think Shane Reynolds has like a decent card, which is, again, we're going to have to find, I guess we'll see, but like, anyway, we'll get to 2001, but yeah, anyway, 2000 card is like, again, pretty standard, but like, I don't hate it. Like,
no, not at all.
Yeah. I was like trying to find if it says, I don't know where on Baseball Reference, it says how to pronounce their names. I think you're supposed to just know this.
Oh, it's funny. I searched it and he's not on it. So yeah, I don't know.
But his name's Vincent.
Yeah, I was on his page. It didn't have a pronunciation for him.
Yeah, so fuck us.
Yeah, we're trying, guys.
It's the one time we try to look it up.
Right. That's like that is literally the first time. I've searched. There's one other guy in this team that I searched because I didn't know. And so we'll get to it. But yeah, I just searched. I'm like, how is he not? Like, I guess like Alarton or Elar. Like, what was the way you're saying?
Ellerton.
Like, Ellerton. I guess. Yeah. I mean, that's. Tomato. I don't know.
Well, right. We should have George on more often. George has the flair for I think the Latin players. Again, I'm a little white dude from the inner city. That's
right.
Do the best I can.
I imagine it's like we need to have like PTI shit where like that guy at the end just like says like what you got wrong.
Oh yeah.
Like that. That's what we should have George for. You know, just to be like, yeah, you definitely fucked up this guy's name.
Yeah.
Like he did not
just
win.
As long as the regular podcast.
Right, he was not rookie of the year. Like I want that, you know.
All right, so next up we have oh man, Tony.
His is on there.
Okay, I'm gonna go with
This is the one.
Eusebio?
I know. So go.
Is it Eusebio?
Eusebio.
Eusebio. Okay. Well, I like this picture though. I'm always down for a catcher, full catcher geared. I want to see a card and say this guy's the catcher before I even read it. But
I like how the logo in the back almost looks like it's like he's throwing. That's like his throwing motion with the white stripe.
It's sweet. I think it's an excellent. It's actually not a bad card either. For 170, you get an 8 that has a 7 arm. I've never played this card. I just hate that he's a C speed that ground ball out 3 to 5. That's pretty rough. But I think for 170,
that's about it, right? Like he's fine. Like,
I mean, obviously you want like the Henry Blancos or the Alberto Castillos or whatever, but he's a little bit above average. And for 170, you're not Tom Lampkin's 340, I think, and he's a 9, but he's got a ton of pop.
I'm going to be completely honest. I don't think I've ever seen this card before.
I've never played with it.
I can't believe we've never played with it.
Yeah, I think he's pretty decent, especially for value for 170.
Right, deeper league shit. Like, there's no question he gets drafted.
Yeah,
right. I'm telling you, NL draft, like even 2000 only draft. I think he makes a team. If you have 12 teams, like I think he makes a team because there is enough things there to justify him making a team.
That guy that was drafting Jeff, did you see his he had some pretty good pulls. He had Giambi, Billy Wagner, and Larry Walker.
That's yeah. So like for anybody listening, we were there was a booster box, a 2000 booster box sealed pack opening. And yeah, I was watching it for a bit. Then I realized I was just too distracted to watch both. But no, that's like there was one guy that opened it up and got oh my god, I can't believe I'm blanking. He's like the best closer in the game in
Wagner.
Not Wagner. It's the other Scott or Trevor Hoffman. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
He opened 2 Trevor Hoffmans, and I was like, dude, 2 like that is like again like. And somebody did 2001 and had like a Delgado and an A-Rod, and I'm
that's
like,
sweet.
Man, like, that's like straight money there. You like pay for you sell those, you basically pay for the box.
So we got next up, we have another foil, Carl Everett, who gets the super treatment when he goes to the pennant run, which we discussed earlier in our Boston podcast. But Carl Everett, pretty damn stud card here. You got a 9 speed, which is pretty studly. This one's single plussing at 13. He has also 3 doubles, which is huge. But the OF +2 is monstrous. I mean, you can play center field now +2 and shift them around if you're in a deep league.
No, this card is the best.
Yeah,
and
he's insane.
I'm looking at our mini league, which was only 8 teams, and I'm looking who was drafted. Only 2 guys were drafted from this team, and it's one that we would expect and the other that I would not expect. I can't believe. I'm actually kind of surprised that Carl Everett didn't make that. Like, I guess I'm kind of now kicking myself for not paying more attention because this chart is
expensive, but he's pretty dang solid.
No, this is a bonkers card. Like the 1 through 4 out is tolerable. That outfield +2, 3 freaking doubles, 2 single pluses at 13. He's probably making it to second. Like, dude, I'm in.
I mean, he hit 25 homers and 27 stolen bases. A very solid card, 150 hits. Yeah, I mean, he had a great year. He had a 398 on base percentage. I thought around 400 or 405 is when they supposedly, but we know this isn't true, but supposedly gave him the 10 on base. So he just missed getting a 10 here, which is maybe why they gave him the Boston treatment for the next year. But man, he had like a slugging of 570, like almost 1,000 OPS. He had a pretty damn good year.
So have we I know we've talked about it, but refresh my memory. Do we just think that they knew he was a stud in 99 and again going into the pennant run I don't know if he got traded or went to free agency, but
I assume they thought all his numbers were going to go up because Boston's probably got a smaller park, better team.
I guess that's true. So
I assume that's what they did. I mean, he did have a better year in a sense. He had more home runs. He had more doubles, or no, he had same doubles, more homers, less stolen bases. I mean, he had a sort of worse year of batting. I mean, he batted 325 this year, and then the next year he batted 300. But just a really solid player for a couple of years there. And then he sort of dropped off a bit in his later years. But yeah, I don't know. We don't know exactly. I know there was a guy that was helping Peter break down how they did starting pitching in 00, but we assume that the foil or the pennant run treatment came from either predictions or sort of like a minor league, major league mashup, or a year before if they got hurt mashup. So we don't really know.
Man, he bounced around teams too.
Oh yeah. Once he must have got hurt in 01 because I don't know. He hit 409 plate appearances, but he only had he had like half the number of home runs all of a sudden.
And he bounced back in 2003, but yeah, no, the longest he's with the team with 3 years, and that was both with the Mets and the White Sox. So that's wild. But anyway, no, great card. I feel like his 2000 pennant run card is legendary because it's so expensive. But so it's kind of funny, like these players that I feel like, again, me is like not a massive baseball fan. I would say I'm above a casual baseball fan, but I know a lot about the 99 and 2000 leagues because of Showdown. I'm not sure Carl Everett would have ever really been on my radar, but I feel like he's fallen under the same umbrella as like a Terry Shumpert, same thing. Mm-hmm. No reason I would have ever known Terry Shumpert if I wasn't into Showdown. And so yet these guys are kind of like, I now know who they are because of that.
And this goes back to our OF discussion. As Matt knows, like he played all but 75 innings of 1,063 in center field. And so he gets the OF instead of like just a CF, I guess. They were like, nah, he can play everywhere as an outfielder +2. I assume that's what their thought was. And I don't mind that idea. Oh, I guess he played 2 innings and left.
That's enough, apparently. What do you got, like, when you, like, because there's OF cards in 2018, 2019. Like, what is your determination for that?
So what I do is I determine a minimum innings and say, okay, if he hit minimum innings in left or right, or both, I guess, then he gets left field, right field. And then if he also had a minimum innings in center field, now he plays center field as well. So I put all that down. I go, he has center field eligibility and he has left field, right field eligibility. It doesn't matter which one, left or right. Then I go back, and me and Matt do this. We go through and go, what was his fielding at that position? So you can get anywhere from -1 to +4 in center, and -1 to +3 in left, right. For now, we might change some of that stuff going forward, but that's what it was. Now, if those two numbers were the same, I gave him the OF. So if they got center field +2 and left field, right field +2, you just simplify it and say it's OF +2.
Right, makes sense.
Yeah.
So
that's like what happened for Verdugo this year.
Yeah.
So what happens, like, if you have a Carl Everett that has 1,000 innings and 950 of them are in center field, but he does 50 in left field,
he only gets center field eligibility.
Yeah, I usually do to get a score. Like if I'm doing it, if you're getting a score for a position, you got to have over 200 innings.
Yeah.
What I started doing is if they played in between 200 and 100, I'll give them that position +0.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
It's just like, so like, this guy may have played 115 innings at second base, so I just give him second place +0. So he can move there if need be.
And that's what we needed to change our rules a little bit, Jeff. We've been talking about this also, is like, if a guy, so when we start to, especially for the NL league we do, or the NL only league, it's when a guy moves around positions. When he's out of position, what's his negative? Like we've said, if a guy plays catcher or -1, but maybe if he plays third or first base, it's only -3. But like if a center fielder plays left field, right field, like it shouldn't be like -5. I mean, he's an outfielder, so you gotta. There's like gotta be. Didn't you do it where it was like -3 from whatever his number is, or -2 off his number or something?
Because it was like if a center fielder is moving to left field, I would say like the max in left field, right field in this set is 2.
Okay.
So I would subtract 2 from it and just be like, you can't have more than a 0 though.
Right. So you're saying if you were a 3, you can't be a +1.
Right.
Yep.
You could probably even still justify a +1, but
yeah, I don't mind that. That's what I would say.
If a second baseman's +3 and you throw him at shortstop, and a shortstop max is 5, you subtract 5 and also -2. So -2, it still sucks, but it's not punishing a guy that still played good defense.
I think that was a big thing that came out of so shout out to the Discord on that. I think that that was a big discussion that kind of I lurked on, that you guys were more involved, but no, I 1000% agree. And I think that it's, as we've been, no process, like no Showdown league or Showdown rules has ever finished. Right. This is essentially an art form, right? And art is never finished, right?
That's actually a podcast I want to have in the future with probably all of us, and Peter, and actually Colby. I think would be really fun to have on there. Someone did post this in the Facebook the other day about like what's the perfect set of rules type thing. And I think that'd be really fun to see, because obviously I really want it for spoiler, like Showdown Con, 2021. But we would need to establish like a really nice clean set of quote unquote house rules. There are no strategy cards, when you're moving players around, what's physically happening, a lot of stuff. So that is something I want to talk about in a later podcast, so we can definitely dive into, which I think there's a lot of fun rules that I've done and a lot of fun rules that other people have played in. And I might, I'm probably going to reach out, and if you guys are listening to this podcast, you guys can write your ideas in, but I was going to reach out on Twitter, Facebook, and Discord for people to give us ideas to talk about on the podcast and break down or add. So it's going to be a podcast in the future.
Like I said, this is never finished. We're going to continually adding things, changing things. I love that our strategy, like when I first joined, was like, it was pretty, not to say basic, but it was just kind of like, again, we liked quick games, which I still do. Mm-hmm. So like, I love that we're talking, a lot of the ideas we're talking about are ways to just kind of add in another layer of strategy. Like I think like it's twofold, because like, when I talked about this with my wife, like originally seeing if like she was into the Showdown concept, which, spoiler alert, she's not. But like we were talking about how like we play some card games, and a lot of it is you have a deck, but you're still doing a ton of strategy while you're playing, which is, we realized for Showdown, like most of the strategy that you were doing was your draft strategy, which is fine because you're playing out your that's your main strategy. You're playing it out. But I think like finding those little things, like, Bob's rules of the intentional walk, the sack bunt, or not sack bunt, the intentional walk, you know what I'm saying? Like this, the sack bunt is one of them. Yeah. Things like that, like, don't slow down the game, but it's another layer of strategy that you can think about while drafting. You can definitely think about while playing the game, because I know that, like, I know my one buddy, Kevin, in particular, so I hope he's listening because I'm giving him a shout out. If we did things like saying, like, shortstop is different minus rating than a second baseman, first baseman, catcher, etc. I know he would go fucking wild with that, because like he would be continually playing this equation game in his head as, well, if I switch him over here, then I can put him here, I can put him in. You know what I mean? Like he would just go nuts on that, and I think that'll be a really that would be a really interesting another layer for us to add into our league. Absolutely.
So next up we have another foil, Mike Hampton, who got shafted. And Peter will talk about this till the end of the earth. Well, he would talk about the Mets version as well, but Mike Hampton totally got shafted for this card. Finishes, I think, was it third or second in Cy Young?
He did crazy well. I'll check right now.
Was either second or let's see.
Yeah, because it was him, Randy Johnson, and Millwood. They're all the three controls.
Yeah, so Randy Johnson goes 1, Hampton's 2, and Millwood's 3. They all get 3 controls, huge innings, crazy good cards. But we always go, for how good he did, he just doesn't feel like he should be a 3 control guy. I mean, a sub 3 ERA, had 22 wins. Again, wins is not determination. Wow. 1.285 WHIP. He, finished his second in Cy Young. He had a great year. This is a freaking stud card. I just, like, if he's a 4, he's like 1,000 times better.
Yeah.
Like, for that kind of value, I've never played with this card, because I don't want, this is a tier 4 starter that finished second in Cy Young. He's a tier 4 starter. Just doesn't make sense.
And for reference, he was actually second, I think, in Cy Young. I'm checking now. Like you're saying, so just confirming that. He also, I looked this up because I was curious. We were talking about batters hitting. He was actually pretty good at the plate, and he won Silver Slugger that year.
Oh, sweet!
So he was. I think he was literally one of the best.
He won Silver Slugger for 5 years in a row.
Yeah,
from 99 to 2003. Wow.
I think I looked it up, like top 5 pitchers batting ever. I think Mike Hampton was in that. I know it's a reference. He was the best pitcher hitting. Like, what does that actually mean?
That's pretty solid. He had 7 homers in 2001.
That's it. He was definitely on that. That was it. Like,
holy shit.
Dude could have had like if we do a 2000 or like a 2001,
Okay. It was in Colorado though. Okay, so there's a preface there. But he had 7 homers. He batted 291. I mean, that's a pretty solid card.
Yeah.
I mean, does that count in Cy Young shit? Like,
no.
Maybe that matters. But no, he's the other legend, just because, like, I mean,
he had 3 triples in 99 in Houston.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Like, but he's the only Showdown card to get 4 foils, at least in the 2000-2001, like the sets we care about. He kind of became the legend for that.
I his card is just so lackluster for how good he did, and that's disappointing. And I know Peter always talks about, if and when him and Matt like remaster these, it's just that's one of the guys that you got to give him his due.
Man, his WAR that year was 6.7. That's just crazy. And there wasn't even his second next one in terms of WAR was the next year, which was 4.7. He was that much better in '99.
Yeah, he was solid. I mean, he had 239 innings, so just an inning eater, 175 strikeouts, just pretty damn solid. Yeah, he just had a really good year, and to see a 3 control 1 through 16 out, it just kind of whatever. To me, I like the no doubles because he had like a .5 home run range, home runs per 9, which was like league leading. So he like barely ever gave home runs, which is awesome. And he just that's it. Like if he's a 4 or a 5, this card is like infinitely better, and it's just so obviously maybe you don't have the same outs, but like I feel like he's a 4 1 through 16 out or a 5 1 through 15 out. I mean maybe even better than that.
Right.
Anyway,
yeah.
whenever Matt and Peter remaster this, you guys will see a much better version of Mike Hampton. Next up, we have Richard Hidalgo. So this card obviously gets so much better in 01. What?
What a jump that is.
Oh yeah,
like a 300-point jump.
Yeah, this is like I always joke about that with like the 2018 set had I think it was 2018 set had what's his face from the Indians, Roberto Perez is like a 10-point catcher, and then 2019 he's like a 300-point catcher or something like that.
He's like 330 or something.
So it's like a 320-point jump. Like that's a huge jump. So I like that, like most improved player type thing, which is pretty cool to think about. But yeah, he's
so much better.
Yeah, he goes from 15 home runs in '99 to 44 home runs in 2000. But then he goes back down to like that range. So it sort of was a crazy year in 2000 for him. But yeah, great card that year. So we'll talk about this one. Not that good. Somehow he gets the 3 doubles here because he's a 7 on base percentage guy, but just a not really good card. I've never played this card. I don't think anybody really should.
No, and for reference, like we were talking about who was drafted, we'll get to the first one, which is you could guess it. I won't spoil it, but Mike Hampton was the other one. So only 2 guys from this set, including Pennant Run, were drafted in our mini league. Which again that's 2000, 2001. So it kind of just gives you a gauge of where they're at.
Did it say which Mike Hampton that was? Was it the Pennant Run?
No, it was the Astros.
Oh, it was? Okay.
Was
it the Matt Holloway?
I'm gonna check right now.
Matt the Cat.
I think it was. Yeah, he drafted him really low though, so he was like 130th pick, so he was like late rounds. Yeah. He just was there, and he needed to fill out a 4th starter, which I mean, him for a 4th starter is pretty great. So.
Absolutely. All right, so next up we have Stan Javier. This card I think is better than the card we just looked at for 200 points, but you don't really want this card with not much production value on the back end of the stats. But he's an 8A speed, so I guess if you really had to, you could pick him up for 200 points.
I like him because you hit him late, and it's for 200 points for an 8 on base. That's probably going to bat like 7, 8, 9 in your order.
Yeah, it's just that what's good about him is the A speed, because Hidalgo's a 7 with power.
Right.
But you get here for the same amount of points. You go up and on base. You don't get the chart anymore, but you get the A speed. So it just depends on what you're filling out for your team.
A speed plus like 18 and up, you're on second.
Yeah.
And most times, if you get an A speed on, you're probably gonna try and steal anyways. So.
Yeah, and that depends on the rules of your league too, like how many stolen bases you get and what kind of catcher they're
with
doing.
Him, if you're just playing as like this Astros team, you're probably going, I don't know, like Biggio, Bagwell, Caminiti as your top 3, and Carl Everett in some order, like those 4. So if this guy's hitting 9th to turn it over to them, like that's solid.
Oh, for sure.
Because like then Bagwell's driving people in.
Mm-hmm. Next up, Jose Lima. So this is basically a better version of Mike Hampton. No, so he's a tier above Mike Hampton. He's got the extra out, but this one has the double. So technically, he's better than Mike Hampton somehow. But Jose Lima, if you like this kind of card, this you're fine. I don't like three 1 through 17, but this is your tier 3 typical pitcher. So
yeah, I don't like them if they don't have walks.
Yeah, especially this one with that double all of a sudden being on there is kind of rough too. But let's see, 99. So he's got 3.58 ERA, roughly the same WHIP as he finished Cy Young 4. So that's pretty interesting. They had the 2 and the 4 on their team, so that's how good their team was.
So another 3 that was.
Yeah. So the top 4 ones all got 3, and that could be based off WHIP, and we know a little bit about the home run range or whatever was part of that. But his ERAs are 5 above, or half a full point above his Hampton's, and gets a better tier. So I don't really understand that part. But next up we have Jay Powell. I actually like Jay Powell a lot. I hate 1 through 14 out players, but to get a 70-point pitcher for 4 control is pretty damn solid.
No, it's great. It's super great. Just use them when you need to, like not hopefully, crunch time scenarios, but like for 70 points, especially since we've already figured out that like there's not a ton of cheap relievers in general in this set. And to get a cheap reliever that's actually usable and not just filling a roster spot is totally fine.
And it doesn't just give you home runs or is a 0.
Right.
Right. He's the kind of guy that you're coming up to their like 7, 8, 9. You don't have to worry too much. You don't want to waste your John Johnstone or whomever. So you put in Jay Powell to face the bottom of the lineup. Don't get hurt, and then you come in with your better reliever afterwards, and you only spend 70 points on him. So he helps your team grow or go far with that salary savings. Also, pretty sweet picture.
Yeah, he looks great in this. I'm so down. Yeah, that must be the regular season jersey.
Yeah, this one is,
man,
for sure.
This is like the team of goatees, man. Between him and Bagwell and Caminetti, like, dude, they are like king goatees. It seems like a thing, like they must have like been talking about. I refuse to believe if they didn't.
So next up, we have another same exact type of card as Jose Lima. You got Shane Reynolds.
Yep.
So, I'm not even like what's the diff here? Like, I mean, it's
less ground balls, I think.
You're right.
So Shane Reynolds has a ton of ground balls.
More.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. Yeah, Lima had less, so he got the extra 10 points.
So this one, again, the WHIP is around the same, 1.2-ish. So that could be where the control's coming from. Also, low home run range. But again, this one says a 3.85, so almost a full point above Mike Hampton in ERA, and has a whole tier above Mike Hampton.
Where'd he finish in the Cy Young?
This one, it doesn't say, so he must not even got votes.
Right.
So he wasn't even considered. But he was a big inning. He had 35 games started, which led the league. Finished 16-14, which sucked, so he had a lot of losses. But he had 230 innings and 197 strikeouts. So they just had 3 guys that just pitched. Yeah, they're like, let's get these guys to go 7, 8 innings, and then Billy Wagner.
Yeah,
that's basically how you play their team.
And we might have mentioned this, might have missed this, but there were 4 All-Stars on this team: Bagwell, Hampton, Lima, and Wagner. So, but you could have made the argument for a lot of others. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, I just don't think Shane Reynolds deserves this kind of card. And then you get Mike Hampton, who I think deserved a much better card. So that's kind of crappy in a sense. Next up, Bill Spears.
I think it's Spires. I think it's Spires, but I don't know.
So Bill Spires here, just an interesting chart here. Fills out like everything you need. So this is an 8.220, pretty cheap here. I wish he was maybe a little bit more on third base. Bought a lot of singles here. I'm not super sold on this guy. I'd rather get Bill Mueller or something. But
yeah, it's crazy that this guy was their bench third baseman.
Wow.
Who was their number 1?
Caminetti.
Oh, Caminetti played there. Yeah. So,
because is it like 01 when Spires can play like multiple positions?
Yeah, I picked him up on my his 01 card was on my mini league team because he
probably had to become a utility guy to play because like that's not a bad chart at all for 220.
And they just had such a stud team in 99, and then like a couple years later, like almost half this team is like gone. Mm-hmm. It's like Mike Hampton's gone. I know. Ken Caminiti is gone and soon to retire, and just their just team sort of like disappears.
Yeah, the Spires 01 card is second base, shortstop +3, and third base +2.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
210, on base 9, Doesn't homer, but he's 1 to 5. That was the team. Like that team that I did was horrible. It was a lot of on base guys, but that couldn't actually do anything else. But no, I actually kind of stand behind that pick. So
I think he was on my league teams back then. I remember his card, so something good had to have happened with him.
Right. Next up, we have a guy who gets drafted every single draft. Yeah, this
standard bearer.
This is a tier 1.
No, this is isn't this a tier?
Tier
is this
0?
No, this is tier 0.
Yeah, tier 0. Sorry. So yeah, 15 out would have been tier 3. 16 outs tier 2. 17 outs tier 1, and now you're talking about a tier 0 for 230. Super valuable because for some reason this guy should be much higher in terms of salary points. Yeah, he's an absolute killer. You put him in, you basically strike out their side every time. If somehow he doesn't give up the van or gives up, if they somehow roll high, they're only walking or singling. It is completely lights out with Billy Wagner. He gets drafted. I've never seen him not drafted in the league.
He got drafted, I believe, first round, second round. He was the 11th pick, so we only had 8 teams. So
to my cousin.
No, it was Kevin.
Oh, that's right. He drafted
depending on style, you can justify him as a first-round pick because
I agree.
You're gonna use him, and if you bring him in, you should win 100 times out of 101.
Let me see here. Wait a second. Okay, so remember how I said Mike Hampton and Jose Lima were 2-4? Billy Wagner was tied for 4th in Cy Young.
Wow.
So they had 3 of the top
was
7 Cy Young people. Trevor Hoffman also got votes that year too. And the guy who probably, Randy Johnson was incredible that year, but a guy that gets overlooked then is Kevin Brown, who gets 1 vote.
Wow.
He got one vote, and it wasn't even for first place, so it must have been 3rd place vote.
Oh, Jesus.
He gets he's got a 1.066 whip, so just above Johnson's 3.0 ERA. In my opinion, Kevin Brown's number 2. I think Johnson deserved it. Maybe actually Kevin Millwood probably could have been up there higher. He probably could have got. I think Kevin Millwood gets 2. In my opinion, Kevin Brown gets 3, and Billy Wagner was better than Mike. Billy Wagner's had a fucking year. 1.57 ERA, 0.77 whip. Just,
dude. Okay,
it's just lights out.
Ready for this? So I'm looking at his mini season, right, which was only like 12 games, so it wasn't anything crazy. But I'm looking at the team he was on. So this is like him facing other 2001. He appeared in 7 games, pitched 14 and 2/3 innings, so almost 15. 2 wins, 1 loss, 2 saves, 32 Ks, 6 walks, 6 hits, and then his ERA was 0.61 and his whip was 0.82, which is almost exactly the same whip.
So they did a good job with, and that's what I'm saying. So sometimes they get the cards pretty dang close, and then sometimes they just who knows what happens. They just I think screwed up this salary here. Well, as we know now, he's just worth so much more than probably what they again. And Kevin. From the Athletic told us they just didn't have the play testing to really go, well, how much is this guy really worth? So that was interesting to note too.
For sure.
But yeah, he was a stud. I'm surprised he even lost a game. That's interesting.
Yeah, I'm actually
randomness happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
He had his first 2 he gave up.
So in '99,
he gave up 1 run.
In '99, he had 1 loss.
Oh my God! Yeah, he came in and pitched 1 inning, gave up. It looks like he gave up 2 hits somehow. So somebody must have rolled 1920s if he got the mistake pitch a couple times. But he gave up 1 run and got the loss for it. So that shows you how close that was.
Yeah.
But then the rest of the games, oh my gosh, there's 1 hit. In 1 game, there's 0 hits, 1 hit, 0 hits, 2 hits. One of them he had 3 walks, but he also 1 game pitched 4 innings. Like his average innings ended up being over 2.
Yeah, it reminds me of Leclerc in my league last year.
Yep,
he went 21 innings before he gave up his first run.
I don't remember Wagner on any other team but Houston, and I remember him a little bit on the Mets.
He's on the Phillies.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at his stats. I'm like, I don't remember him at all in the Phillies. And in 2005, he had like a 1.51 ERA.
Yep.
He had 70 games like played, or was it 75 games, 70 games, what is this, 4 finished, so he got pulled out of a couple, like just 38 saves, 87 strikeouts, and a .837 whip. I mean, that's a pretty freaking stellar ass year too. And I'm like, I don't even remember him ever being on the Phillies.
Maybe we'll see him on Sunday.
There you go. Dun, da, da, da. So you know this stuff better than me.
That one I do remember. I was like, damn, he almost did what he did in 01.
And that's what I'm looking at. I'm like, wow, these are very similar numbers. So
yeah.
Next up, all of a sudden, wham! It's not your screen. Do not adjust it. They did change the colors in the logo. So the background changes here. The main logo on the side changes. They sort of get a different tint. They went with the red.
So do you think the original pictures are 98 spring training and this is the 99 spring training?
I would think. I could see that.
Right, you're right. You're absolutely right.
This looks like a spring training jersey, and it's totally different. It's got the red and everything.
Yeah,
dude, they probably said we need any picture you can get as soon as possible.
Yeah,
you know.
And this card's pretty studly for a 9 to have 17 home run and also 2 doubles, single plus at 14. Very big, powerful chart here for a 9 on base guy. 470 is a little pricey, but it's not too bad for a pretty powerful 9.
I feel like Moises Alou makes a lot of good showdown cards and doesn't get a lot of recognition for being just a really good baseball player.
Oh, he was so consistently good.
Yeah, I like this version, though I have not played with this, and that's probably because I probably leaned against not having the outfield. When it's a +0, I have a tough time trying to make up for it. But yeah, I mean, he had a good card. He had a good card in 01, didn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he was like a 10 on base that year.
Yeah, so he actually goes down in on base percentage. So just to let you know, never mind, I lied. So in 99 he doesn't play, he got injured. So this pennant run version is probably 98. What he did in 98, which was 399 on base percentage, 38 homers, pretty studly card. Ooh. And then he goes again on Houston, which I love the Houston version where he's like zoomed in and running. I think that's Hidalgo I'm thinking of, sorry. So he's got the 416 on base in 2000, which would be his 2001 card. But only 30 home runs, only 30 home runs. But pretty damn good card. And he just hovers around there in Houston, you know, up in the 390s for a lot of it. I remember him obviously in Florida in 97, though he only played 1 year.
I think he was an Expo, wasn't he? Cub?
Yep. Because in my 96 set he's an Expo, and he's pretty good there too. He's got 339 on base, 21 homers. Let's see, is he a Cub? Yeah, he's Cub for 3 years. A Giant.
He was the
Mets.
Bartman guy. He was the guy trying to catch the ball.
Yep, that's where most people probably remember him from. But he played for Montreal the most. But yeah, his career on base is 369, batting average 303. Just solid player. Awesome. And he gets the foil, so good for him. A card that actually gets picked up a ton, Roger Cedeno. We've talked about this before, we talked about this on our draft podcast, because this is a great leadoff hitter. A 10 A speed, pretty valuable for 430 here. Again, you don't like the outs, but you're giving up, obviously not homering because you're just hoping this guy's your leadoff hitter. OF +1, plays anywhere in the outfield, single plus at 15. You're pretty happy with this kind of card. I like it. And another foil.
just thinking, like, because I remember when I was growing up, like, with the 00 and the 01 cards, I'd combine them and play as, like, the actual teams. Like, this Astros team is insane.
Oh, yeah, they're insane. They're insane. Like, totally insane. Like, I mean, again, getting two pennant run teams have like 5 cards per team, and they got 2 foils on it.
Yep.
Like,
that are studs, and they still have Carl Everett. Like,
yeah,
right.
It just using and then you add an 01 and you get that Richard Hidalgo. It's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Right. Just
and this pennant run, they still get more good cards that aren't foils that are like in that 400-point price range.
Yeah. So this obviously great card. He's your typical leadoff hitter that you're looking for. You get the A speed, you got the 10. You're just trying to get on base with him, and he's not hurting in the outfield. He can play center if you needed him. Pretty solid card. Next up is Octavia Dotel. Not a big fan of this, but this is your typical 300 or 320 to 340 range, 3-1 through 16 out. the weird part.
No singles.
Yeah, no singles.
I like the
doubles.
chart.
It's an interesting chart. So it's solid. I mean, interesting. I like that. You don't see many one pop-up cards, but I like cards that change it up a bit.
I mean, just saying, like, how much is to control 3? How much is Hampton? Isn't he like 470 or 460? Yeah. Why would you not just get Dotel?
So 120 points for no double and an extra inning.
Yes,
exactly.
Yeah, well, they screwed up the
ground ball range.
I mean, again, hopefully you have some better relievers, or good relievers to back them up. But like, I'm picking Dotel
over him. Yeah, though I don't want any of them.
Right. Also, that's a sick hat.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That's all I want to say.
Next up, another random 10 on base. So you're like, the other catcher wasn't good enough. I want a 10 on base catcher for 400 points. Average arm, maybe just a tad below, depending on in a showdown league. But let's see, this is Mitch Molesky.
Yep. Yeah, Molesky.
Here.
Dude, their pennant run team is pennant. They're fucking loaded.
Yeah,
like just loaded.
The big part here is he's got 3 or 4 doubles.
Yeah, dude, that's huge for 400.
Yeah, that 4 double range is monstrous. So now you're having like a 10. So yeah, just like Matt was saying here, like if you combine this set or just this set. So let's not even say just not even say that we're going Richard Hidalgo from 01, but if you're going leadoff hitter Roger Cedeno, and then you got like Jeff Bagwell, or God, I guess Biggio is still up there somewhere. But
you're probably hitting Bagwell 2 now, though.
Yeah, you put Bagwell 2 for sure. Then you have like
probably Alou and Everett as 3-4. Well, actually, I think the 3 or 4 hitter we haven't gotten to yet.
Oh, so yeah. But I was just looking at now replacing the catcher, who I thought was a good value for now a 10 that can have 4 doubles, which is huge. But it is going to cost you.
Offensive weakness on this team is poor Tim Bogar.
Oh, poor Tim, who's the +5.
Yeah.
So next up, just another scrub. Daryl Ward.
Total scrub.
Yeah. So I like this picture too. He looks like either he's monstrous or is like, because he's only got Ward's last name, his jersey number looks so tiny, so he looks big as fuck.
Dude, him and Molesky, like their cards are like very similar, like in terms of like they're like the same size on the card, same design, same batting stance. Their numbers even close. It's just the kind of for a second I was like, wait, I took the same picture twice and totally messed this up, but no, that's right.
So so now you're gonna get a 9 C-speed guy. So that kind of sucks. But Homer's at 17 for cheaper than Alou, who was homering at 17, and he's also got 2 doubles. But he is a little slower, so that's where you're getting your drawback here. But yeah, so if you combine just the 000 pennant, you got like Biggio, or you got Cedeno leading off, and then you go Bagwell. I'm guessing you go Alou.
Everett Ward.
Well, I would go Alou, Everett, Ward.
Yeah, which is insane. And you still have Molesky and Biggio.
Molesky. I was about to say.
So then I would go Molesky, Ken Caminiti. So what am I at? That was 5, 6, 7. Biggio is your 9, I think.
8, and Bogar's 9.
No, I like Bogar batting 8, and Biggio bringing up the back end.
That's insane.
Because then you would go on a different inning. You would go Biggio, Cedeno, Bagwell.
Yeah. And it's like, so it kind of makes up for their starters only all being 3 controls, because you should score.
Which is dumb, because those 3 starters were the top like 4 Cy Young guys.
Because of this lineup.
Yeah. And then you still have Bagwell to shut it down if you ever do anything.
I think my big question is, so say we're playing NL rules with this team.
Yes.
You got Ward, Alou, Everett, and Cedeno. Who are you setting?
Oh, that's right, because you can't DH. Let's see. So Everett's the Ward? OF +2, so he's got to be your center fielder.
Yeah.
Alou's a +0.
Well,
this guy's
Cedeno's also OF +1, so
but he's got to play because he's the fast guy. But it depends if you're going power, right?
So it's Alou or Ward is what it seems like it's coming down to for you guys.
And then
I would be.
It just depends. It depends on my lineup, I guess. If you're just doing obviously this lineup,
it's the same guy.
I would definitely sit Alou. I would play Ward.
What's Alou? Doesn't Alou have
Alou has a better chart.
Yeah, I think I play Alou.
But he's got a bigger walk range. Like I get, he's got a bigger. But
doubles. He's faster. That's what I like. I want the B speed guy, and then I pinch hit Ward for Alou, not for Alou, for Cedeno later. So Cedeno plays left right, and then you have
And then you still have that Javier guy that's a speed A that's on your
to pinch run.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so you could put in Daniel later in the game's coming up in a big situation. You put Ward in to pinch hit. He pinch hits, gets a double. You pinch run with Stan, and then you're fine again.
Hidalgo collecting dust.
Well, Hidalgo of this year is not good.
Right. And Derek Bell. I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like, this team is ridiculously deep.
Oh yeah.
And it explains why they got rid of Carl Everett, because
you didn't need
had
him.
all these outfielders.
But what did I've never even heard of this Ward guy, like in terms of like a career.
His next year card's like a 6 on base.
But he did play 10 years. I didn't even think he played that long.
Wow.
So yeah, his 2000 card. So he had a 295 on base. He had 20 homers. So for this pennant run, they must have just looked at his.
That had to be minors.
Yeah, that, and he hit 150 plate appearances, 8 home runs, I guess, and I don't know, because he only had on base at 311. You wouldn't have thought.
Yeah, it was probably his minors.
Yeah, who knows? So that card, it just interesting in general. They would even consider this card a 9, though randomly. He only had he doesn't really play at the end of his career. He's like 100 at bats per season. He just doesn't really play much throughout his whole career.
Yeah, it seems like he was like a bench outfielder that would come in.
Yeah, so it's interesting. This card will probably get picked up in our league just because it's NL and it's tight.
Dude, I kind of think this whole team gets picked up in our like. I'm just
make a case for everyone.
Yeah,
right. That's why I'm kind of surprised that, like, in my opinion, like Molesky goes early.
Oh yeah,
right? That's why I didn't want to include them.
Right. Right. Like, I think that, like, now I'm saying it out loud because I think we're all going to be paying attention to it. But man, like a player like that, like I could see him going like that's kind of like maybe I always picked like Kendall early.
Yeah, but, I think Kendall's still the number one.
Kendall also, I think, in terms of almost all 10s, and he is underpriced tremendously. Because he's got the A speed, he's got a little bit of pop, but he's got a great arm, and he's a 10. Like it just.
He's
like a first round pick.
For 60 points more, you get +3 to your arm and a speed A.
Yeah.
Yep. It's interesting to see. Like, I almost feel like coming out of this, like we're almost starting to map what that first round picks looks like. Like maybe it won't actually happen, but like, I mean, again, Billy Wagner is a first round pick. Like with 8 or 12 teams, like Jason Kendall is a first round pick. Like it's really. I think Carl Everett gets picked. Like it's just like there's.
So the weird thing about this, just to let you guys know. There's only Jay Powell and Billy Wagner.
For their pitchers.
And the pitchers, yeah. So they have a full starting rotation of 4 guys, and then, I mean, you don't need anybody else. You just need Billy Wagner, but you only have 2 relievers.
Wow.
So it's funny how incredibly stacked and deep this 0001 is. But yeah, I think this whole thing gets drafted, or almost this whole team, probably not. Richard Hidalgo, maybe not. Maybe it does. But yeah, I think it's a great team. I love this team in general. I liked them in the 90s. I liked them with Jeff Bagwell in the early 2000s. It sucks they have this cloud over their head right now, but yeah, I love it. I'm glad we got to break this one down.
Absolutely. I'm very I guess like I kind of forgot how good they were back then, honestly. And my gosh, there's just this is a really fun team. It's just a blast to kind of go through.
Yeah, so thank you guys again for listening to us break down the Houston Astros 2000 pennant. Stay tuned for the next one, and we'll see more content soon.